Okay, well, thank you so much for joining our Zoom today. Welcome, welcome. We just get started. Um, we just get started. Another friend of ours is gonna be late. She'll be here at 7 or after. Um, last week, on Saturday, Sen and Ron, I'm very grateful for you guys participating in the coaching program. And last week we talked about the operating principle of the conscious mind. In other words, our inner awareness. Okay, our awareness, our conscious mind. We talked about what it means to have awareness. We came to a consensus, a way of using the language to have awareness of something, or to not have awareness of something, or to have a complete and fulfilled awareness of something has a certain connotation and certain meaning that helps us understand each other when we talk about the concept of awareness. Okay, so as a quick review, when we talk about anything, when we mention any topic and we have a negative state of mind, if our emotion is negative, we say that we have no awareness about that topic. If when we mention a topic and we say that we have a positive feelings about it, we have a positive thinking about it, then we say that we have some awareness of it. But it is not until that we have a clear mental image, a clear concept of that topic, and our inner state, our way of being is balanced and positively oriented, that we say we have a complete awareness of something. And the power of having a complete awareness of something, to be fully conscious of something, to be fully awakened to a reality of something, is to experience that reality as part of your life. Okay, that is the operating principle of the conscious mind, of the inner awareness. Any question about that one? Any lesson, impression, or realization about what we talked about on Friday? Any question? Any impression? Okay. This next topic that we're going to talk about today does have something to do with our way of being, the negative, the positive way of being. Okay. But instead of the conscious mind, we're going to focus on the subconscious mind. Okay, but before we go into the subconscious mind, especially since some of you guys have just recently did this in-depth study of the subconscious mind, I want to spend some time talking about the nature of the subconscious mind and causality before we go into the official sharing about the subconscious mind. Okay, so consider with the subconscious mind as a topic today, consider our knowledge as a human being. Okay, we know things. Okay, as a human being, we know things, we have knowledge. Have you ever noticed that some knowledge seem to come easy to us and other knowledge seem to be very hard? Ever noticed that when you were going through school, some subject in school were very easy to come by, and other subject you have to struggle? Anybody here good at math? Did math come easy to them? How about, did math come easy to you, Sen? Since you don't want to pay attention. Oop, I don't hear you anymore.
Math, I'm really okay. I'm actually not bad in math.
Okay.
If
What
I really
others?
try hard, then I probably get an A plus. Yeah.
Okay. What
Without trying, I
others?
can still get a B. Yeah, so that's good.
Okay, so you B, that's good, right? So it means
Yeah.
you're good at math. What other subject in school that came by easily for you?
Um, I guess math and art, I was okay. I'm good. Computer science, like
Okay.
computer science is mathematical stuff. So yeah,
Okay.
programming, I was all good in that. But yeah, English, grammar, essay writing, I was really bad.
Okay. 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 So in terms of human knowledge, okay, for some of us, it seems that we are naturally good at something, and we seem to be naturally bad at some other subject of knowledge, right? So the question is, have you wondered why is it so? According to your knowledge, why is it that some knowledge come easy and some knowledge seem to be hard? From at least from a scientific perspective, what would a scientist say with respect to why some knowledge come easy and some knowledge uh, it's hard for us? What would a scientist say, or at least according to your common sense knowledge? What do you think? Ever thought about that? Ever done wonder why?
I mean, not knowing this knowledge, I would not know why.
Okay, not knowing this knowledge. Okay, good. So you have already your reviewer, but it's in the Western world that we live in the no, mostly Western and perspective and scientific perspective. A scientist would say it's our DNA, right? We got it from our parent. Our tendency, our personality, our character, our the ability to acquire some knowledge has to do with the way our brain is wired. And if we are more right-brained, then we are going to acquire more right-brained knowledge more easily, and we're left-brained, and we're going to acquire left-brained knowledge more easily, right? Math versus art, science versus art, humanities versus programming versus okay. But that begs the question, why that particular DNA combination? Right? So if we say that okay, we acquired our traits the way we are wired, left brain, right brain, we acquired those traits from our parents because of our DNA combination. That begs the question, why that particular DNA combination? Why not another particular DNA combination? Same parent, okay? And so it brings into the question of nature versus nurture. You ever heard of this? Nurture. Did I spell it correct? Nurture? U-R-E?
E. Yeah.
You ever heard of this? Yeah. So nature is the idea that by nature, right, we have no control over it. Mother nature, we seem to acquire it naturally without having to work at it. Nurture is about, our upbringing, our learning, the education, the thing that we have acquired into our knowledge and our being. With nature, there is the idea of with nature, there is the idea of fate. We're fated to be born in a certain family, to a certain parent. Fate. There's the idea of chance, right? If you ask a scientist, a biologist, they say that that particular DNA combination is by chance, right? Nurture, on the other hand, is something that we can control, and that is causality. Okay? Nature versus nurture. So if you're the kind of person who believes that everything is fate or chance, then we're essentially, kind of we can give up and go home. There is really nothing that we can do about why we are born the way we are. nothing that we can do about the outcome of our life because some being, God decided so, fate or chance, random chance. The universe decided it so because of random chance. So we have, as a human being, have no control whatsoever. If you're the person who believes that it is by nature, if you're a kind of person who believes that it is nurture, then you believe in causality. You believe that by sowing a certain seed, we're going to reap a certain fruit of that same seed. You believe that by uh, planting good seed, you're going to reap good fruit. Sowing and reaping, causality, cause and effects, cause and consequences, cause and outcome. Okay? So it seems that even though as a human being, it's intuitively we believe in a combination of both. Yes, we believe in causality. We get up in the morning, we go to work because we believe that the seed, which is going to work, is going to bring the fruit of money, wage at the end of the week or the end of the month. That is causality. That's why we get up and we go to work. That's why we go into the Zoom because we believe that the seed, the action, is going to bring about some result, some outcome, some benefit later. And we usually choose the action that is best for us, right? If we remember the formula for the root cause of life, we agree that the outcome comes from our choices, okay? Our choices directly determine our outcome. But there are something in between, okay? So if you remember the formula for causality,
Condition.
yeah. So there is, the seed. If we sow the seed, we're going to get the fruit. Okay. So the seed is the cause. The fruit is the outcome. We understand that we sow the seed, we're going to get the fruit. That's why we plan. That's why we hope for the future. That's why we get up in the morning, go to work. That's why we do all the things we do. Because as a human being, we intuitively understand that causality is something that it's a natural law, and we cannot escape from it. And so we use causality all the time. But sometimes things seem to happen that is outside of control, outside of our control. We drive in a car. We stop at the red light. We obey the law, and then boom, another car hit us from behind. Well, we understand causality. We understand that if we obey the law, if we stop at the red light, we will be safe. But sometimes other people, smack into us, and we have no control over that. We um, we have no control over the pandemic, right? So there seem to be things that are beyond our control that seeming to be the outside conditions that affect the outcome that we experience as our life. And without awareness and wisdom, we would think that these conditions are outside of our control. Without awareness and wisdom, we would think that they are fate, that they are random chance. Okay? But I'm going to argue that they are not fate and they are not random chance, and that the external conditions actually comes from the seed that we ourselves have planted. Okay, I'm going to argue that we actually contribute, we direct, we are the direct cause of the condition. So the condition is actually the outcome. Okay, that is the outcome, and that is the outcome that will lead to further outcome. That is the final outcome of life. Okay, so I'm going to basically argue that we create the external condition. Okay, now that's going to be that's a tall order. That's a big claim to argue that the external condition is something that we ourselves create. Okay, so and I'm going to argue that it is a it is a it is a part of causality. Okay, and causality is the law of the universe. Okay, it's a natural law that govern everything that is going on in the universe. Okay, from the worldly view to the cosmological view to human life experience. So imagine that. Well, first of all, consider the scientific perspective. Okay, each of us, we are constantly in contact with things in our external world, especially people, especially people. Because of what we do, our hearing, our seeing, our talking, and now our knowing, that comes out, okay, when we talk, that comes out as a medium, a vibration in the medium of the air, and then it interact with another person. That word that we say, the action that we perform, affect another person. Right? Everything that we do, in fact, everything that we do and everything that we fail to do affect another person. Okay? Imagine we're like connected. All of us, all the human beings are connected in a web of chain reaction of action and reaction. We're all connected by the law of causality. Everything that we do and everything that we not do affect other people. It's kind of like standing in the middle of a lake. Okay, stand in the middle of a lake and you drop a pebble on the lake. When you drop a pebble, that action, okay, that pebble causes a wave, right? A little ripple, right? When you drop a pebble in a lake, that ripple spread out. And as that ripple spreads out, it may come into contact with another person or another rock or something. And what happened when that wave hits another person or another rock in the lake? What happened when a ripple come in contact with another object or another person in the lake?
Bounces back.
It
It
bounces back.
reflects. Yeah.
Yeah, the wave bounces back. If that person is close to us, that ripple comes out and it'll hit the person and comes right back. If the person, let's say, really, really far away, that wave will keep on travel, far, far, far away, and then who knows how long, and then it'll hit the person, and then it'll take a long time to come back.
You calling me? Yeah.
Right? So that's the idea of causality, is that every action that we take has a effect on another person. And that's just an example of one person. Now imagine we're in this lake of 8 billion people, which is about the population of the world. Everything that we do or fail to do influence other people. Okay, it spreads out, influence other people, and it comes back and it influences us. So even if we are driving and we do the right thing and we stop on the red light, and another person, another car hit us from behind, it is nothing more than a wave that had just spread out sometime in the far past, comes back and hit us in the back. That is causality. Okay, that is causality. Even science is working, scientists is actually working to find a mathematical representation of causality. It's called a theory of everything. Okay, so a scientist is working to try to find a mathematical formula that is able to explain and predict everything that is happening, including the conditions and the outcome that we experience in life. Okay, so as a human being, we understand causality. If we wait for science to come up with a theory of everything, that's gonna get pretty complicated. Gets pretty complicated. But fortunately, okay, while we are waiting for science to come up with the formula for causality to explain everything, why everything is the way it is, we have, you know, a more simpler way. We have a more simpler way of understanding causality. And the first point that I want to call to your attention to is that the conditions of life are the people, or rather, the affinity with people. Okay, affinity, meaning attraction, interaction with other people. Okay, the condition that leads to the outcome of our life are the affinity with other people. Okay, the condition that leads to the outcome of our life is the affinity with other people. And the affinity or the condition is the outcome of the seed that we have planted ourselves. Okay, so this, I'm gonna, most of you are aware of this already, but I'm gonna explain this to you as if you have not been exposed to this material ever. So when I talk about the affinity with people, I'm talking about the positive and negative attraction that we have with another human being. It is the condition or the people that leads us to the outcome that we have today. Take, for example, is it not a person or human being that have, let's say, given us the job that we have today? If you have a job, is it not a human being who provided the condition for us to have the job or the business opportunity that we have? It is a person. Is it not a human being or two human beings that have come together and give us the life that we have today? Mom and dad. It is the condition that we experience that give us the outcome that we have today, beginning with our parent. Okay. Is it not the affinity that we have with our spouse, our attraction to that person that has given us the relationship that we have with our spouse? So when you consider all the totality of all the connection that we have with people, we're talking 8 billions of people because we are, even if a person is on the other side of the planet, by the law of causality, we are connected to them. There is a positive or negative connection with another human being. There is a positive and negative connection that we have with anybody and everybody. And the totality of all those connections, all of those affinity together is what we call the total condition. Okay, total condition. It is the condition, the people that bring us the outcome that we have today. Okay, let's uh, let's back up a little bit and talk about causality. Okay, causality. Law of causality is a natural law, governs all aspects of our life. We cannot escape it. We can only hope to understand it and thereby align ourselves with it and make the best use of it so that we can get the result, the outcome that we want in life. Right? If we want the outcome of good health, we need to understand causality of good health. If we want to understand, if we want to have a harmonious relationship, it's a good idea to understand causality of relationship. If we want to be financially independent, experience financial abundance, we need to understand causality of financial abundance. But let's talk about total causality. Okay, total causality. So there's a concept called total causality. Total causality is every cause, every condition, every outcome that has ever happened to us in the past, the present, and the future. Okay, total causality. If we think about that, it gets very complicated. Okay, total causality. How we're supposed to manage everything that ever happened to us. Well, fortunately, it's actually not. It's actually very simple. There is the total causal cognition. Total causal cognition. Cognition basically represent us the stuff that we know. Okay, cognition represent everything that we know. As a human being, this is part of the human nature discussion. This is part of the human energetic structure reference system. As a human being, we have the nature of cognition. We know things. Our will to know expresses itself as cognition. So total causal cognition, or just total cognition, is everything that we know, everything that we have ever known, and everything that we will ever know. And it is causal because it is subjected to the law of causality. Okay, so this is important. The reason I call it total causal cognition is because our knowledge is subjected to the law of causality. There is a cause and the outcome to the knowledge. Okay, I'll explain why that is a little bit later. But understand that we agree that everything is subjected to the law of causality, including knowledge. Our knowledge is subjected to the law of causality, therefore they are called total causal cognition. Okay, there's a seed of knowledge, there's a condition of knowledge, and the outcome of knowledge. What we know today at this moment, everything that we know today, that is the outcome. That outcome of the knowledge that we have today came from some seed that we have planted in the past. Okay, so total causal cognition include all the knowledge that we have ever known in this lifetime and past lifetime, if you believe in past lifetime. In fact, I'm going to argue that we do have past lifetime because of the fact that sometime that we sometime there has been evidence of child prodigy, right? Children who seem to possess knowledge that is way beyond their age. Or the simple fact that we are better in math instead of better in English. That we are good, we certain type of knowledge come to us more easily than other type of knowledge. It is because they fall into the causality. Through the process called, let me write this down on another page. Through the process called accumulation. I'm just going to use the verb form, accumulate and acquire. Knowledge is accumulated and is acquired. Okay, knowledge is accumulated and acquired. And the process by which they accumulate become part of our cognition. It's that simple. Accumulate and acquire. The process, the way in which we accumulate and we acquire, that makes it part of our cognition. And it is subjected to the law of causality, so it is called total causal cognition. Okay? So when a child is born and he seems to be a prodigy, they just one day you've heard report of child prodigy. One day they wake up and they may not have learned how to play piano, but they suddenly get on the piano and they play Chopin. There are many cases like that. There are a child who are extremely good at math, even though their parents don't seem to be good at math. right? There are cases that defy even science. And so the only way that we can explain those phenomenon beyond immediate accounting for the DNA is that that individual has accumulated and acquired that knowledge in the past prior to being born, prior to this lifetime. How else do you come to know more about one subject than another subject? That is because in the past lifetimes, you have acquired and accumulated those subjects more than another subject. All right? Total causal cognition. We have accumulated and we have acquired knowledge in the past lifetime. If we acquired math more in the past lifetime, then yeah, we're going to be better at math now. If we spend more time acquiring and accumulating art, then we're going to be better at art in this lifetime. It's just simple causality. Okay? Hindu and Buddhists call it karma. But here in the West, I want to call your attention to the idea of causality. Because with causality, you can take ownership and mastery of your own causes and outcome. Okay? So there is through the process of accumulating and acquiring, we have total causal cognition, our knowledge. They get accumulated, they get acquired. Total causality, in its simplest term, also have total causal conditions. Total causal conditions. Okay? In other words, total causal affinity with other people. Total causal condition is the affinity that we have with all the people who have ever been born and died in this lifetime and past lifetime and future lifetime. That's the idea of total causal condition or total causal affinity with people. When you understand that the condition that we experience today, whether we are born or we receive a job from somebody or we get into an accident, all of that is influenced or directly caused by other people. And those other people are connected to us by our affinity with them. Consider this. Have you ever met a person that you have never met before and you immediately like them? You just have an attraction to them. They're very friendly. You feel very comfortable, right? You have not acquired or accumulated any interaction with them in this lifetime, but the first time you meet, there's something about them and something about you make you feel very attracted to each other. You're like best friend. You might feel like soulmate. On the other hand, there are people that you meet that they haven't done anything to you, you haven't done anything to them, but they get on your nerve. You just can't stand them. Maybe the way they look, maybe the way they feel, the way they sound. There is a negative attraction, negative affinity with that individual. And you can't explain it. They haven't done anything. You haven't done anything. Well, maybe because you have. Maybe they have. You or them may have done something in the past that had caused your affinity to be negative. Your affinity with the other person is negative and undesirable. So your total causal condition is affected by that negative affinity with an individual. Do you get that? And so if you're sitting on a traffic light, minding your own business, and another car hit you, well, we say that that is a negative affinity with that individual. You may not have done anything for them to them in this lifetime. They may not have met you this lifetime, but maybe that you carry within yourself Okay, there's energy of affinity, this negative affinity with another person, with that individual that just hit you in the back of the car, because you have acquired and accumulated some negativity in the past lifetime. All right, once again, this knowledge is not suitable for anybody who believes only in this lifetime, who does not believe in a multiple lifetime. But if you do, if you allow for the possibility that we have accumulated and acquired some affinity with another human being, in fact, with all the human beings, then it opens up an awareness, allow you to have a better understanding of why we are here today and why we experience the kind of thing we experience, and ultimately a chance for us to take ownership and mastery of our own life. Because if we leave it up to chance, then we can't do anything. We're helpless. We leave it up to fate, then we are helpless. But if we understand causality, and if we understand that the root cause of life begins with me, my choices lead to the outcome that I have today, even if I'm not aware of those choices, even if those choices were made in a previous lifetime. So total causal conditions, all the conditions that we have experienced, all the conditions that lead to the outcome of our life today is subjected to causality. We have planted some seed with respect to some other person, with respect to all the people in all the lifetime, and that leads us to all the conditions that we have today. Maybe we're lucky because some friend have introduced us to a job opportunity or business opportunity. Maybe we're fortunate because we are born to a certain, group of parents who love us and give us care and educate us, or maybe not. That all comes together because those are all conditions, and it is because we have planted seeds of affinity with those individuals in past lifetime. Okay, but since it's difficult to we cannot control the things in the past. Let's see if we can influence the present and the future. So there is the total causal outcome. Okay, so total causal outcome, all the outcome that we have, that we experience in life, today, tomorrow, in the past, forever, all the outcome that we experience in life, all the experience of life itself is subjected to the law of causality, and therefore they are total causal outcome. And together, they just mean total causality. Okay? Okay, total causal outcome. Consider all the outcome that of life that we ever experience. Do they not come from our choices? Okay? Do they not come from our choices? And last week, remember in the operating principle of the conscious mind or the inner awareness, our choices are an exact vibrational frequency match for who we are. From a conscious mind, from an inner awareness level, our choices are an exact vibrational frequency match for who we are. Okay, and that vibrational frequency, okay, that vibrational frequency which determine our choices. If we're vibrating high, that means our way of being at that time is positive. Okay, that means our awareness is good. That positive and negative way of being, determine our frequency, determine our choices. Okay, and so it leads to the way in which we acquire and accumulate cognition. It leads to the way in which acquire and accumulate the condition, and it leads to the way in which we accumulate and acquire the outcome of our life. Okay? So we're pretty clear on causality, right? Anybody have any question about causality anymore? Hindu and Buddhists call it karma, but I don't want to use the word karma because that's a vague concept. It's a foreign language, and people don't have a clear understanding of it. So we're going to use causality, total causality, which is karma life. Okay. And so the question is, how do we accumulate and acquire these? How do we accumulate and acquire these cognition? How and do we accumulate and acquire the condition that bring about the outcome of life that we have today? Let me get some paper. Okay. Over here, you can help me write accumulate and acquire. Some of you learn just one word acquire for simplicity's sake, but I want to add the word accumulate because acquiring is a process by which you make it yours, right? That makes sense. But you need to accumulate before you can acquire. So it's more true to the Vietnamese translation to use two words, accumulate and acquire. Okay. So whether it's when we talk about total causality, okay, so first let's draw a garden. We're going to call it the garden of our subconscious. Okay, let's draw a garden. Okay, this is called the garden of our subconscious. Okay, and in the garden, like all garden, there are a bunch of seed. There are a bunch of trees and a bunch of fruit that have been they have ripened. Okay, and the way that our subconscious works. Okay, the reason I'm making a connection between causality and subconscious because there are knowledge, there are things that happens to us that we don't seem to directly have a control over consciously, right? As a human being, we walk around not being very aware of why we do certain things, why we think a certain way, why we feel a certain way, why we have a certain attraction to other people, why we like a certain subject in school. All of that is operating beneath us in the subconscious level. Right? And science has shown that we only use about 5% of our brain consciously. And a lot of that is used for motor functions and automatic involuntary system to keep us alive, like breathing and digestion and circulation and all that stuff. And so we are actually being operated by our subconscious more than we realize. So this is the discussion on the operating principle of the subconscious or the subconscious mind. And by understanding the subconscious mind, we will better understand our own life experience and ultimately to be able to manage it and master it toward the direction of our choosing. Okay, so in our garden of subconscious, imagine there's a bunch of seed and there are these seeds. There are some seed that let's use some color. The different seed, we use the red color to represent the seed of cognition, the seed of knowledge, basically. Okay, a bunch of seed, the seed of cognition representing everything that we know. right? In our subconscious, that's stuff that we know. And we're going to draw them in red right here, representing the seed of knowledge or the seed of cognition. Okay, we're going to label it cognition. Okay, and they are seed of affinity. Okay, seed of affinity, which represent our attraction to other people. Because remember, by the law of causality, every action, every word affect other people. And they bounce out as a wave, and as a wave of causality, and they bounce back to us, and we carry that within our being from lifetime to lifetime. Okay, that's a cosmological statement. That is a religious and spiritual statement. We carry our total causality with us from lifetime to lifetime. Even when our body breaks down, right? When we die, our body breaks down. We don't bring that with us, but we bring something that seems to not die, and that is our causality. Our will to hear, our will to see, our will to talk, and our will to know. That is the truth within us. Okay, our inner truth, our truth within us. That does not change over space and time. And then something else that we carry with us is our total causality. Okay, we also carry the merits with us. Last time we talked about the good and bad merit by way of causality. The good thing that we do for other people earn some good credit. Those are the good fortune, good merit. By the bad thing that we do to other people, we carry those bad merit. Okay, we also carry the total causality. So there are different ways of looking at the same thing. Okay, so we carry the total causal cognition with us. We carry the total causal affinity with us. And of course, when the time is right, they will express itself as a total causal outcome. Okay, total causal cognition, total causal affinity, and a total causal outcome. Oh, so outcome should be blue. Okay, I'm just going to use blue for outcome. So a lot of seed in the garden. Okay. Take some time to draw this because it's important to get a good, clear picture, good understanding, so that we can begin to take ownership and mastery. All right? Do we want to take mastery of our health? Do we want to take ownership of our relationship? Do we want to uh, take ownership of our finances and the material abundance? Okay, affinity. Okay, and as we said before, as our cognition, our affinity, and our outcome in life is subjected to the law of causality, each time we accumulate and acquire cognition, each time that we accumulate and acquire affinity, each time that we accumulate and acquire an outcome, how do we do that? By which process do we acquire and accumulate cognition, affinity, and outcome? Okay, it turns out it is the process of hearing, seeing, okay, talking, and knowing. Okay, as we hear, see, talk, and know, they come into our garden of subconscious. Okay, as we hear, see, talk, and know, these seed get deposited into our garden of subconscious. Okay, by way of our hearing, seeing, talking, and knowing, we accumulate and acquire. By way of hearing, seeing, talking, and knowing, we accumulate and acquire cognition. By hearing, seeing, talking, and knowing, we accumulate and acquire affinity. And by hearing, seeing, talking, and knowing, we bear the fruit of our outcome. Okay? Cognition, affinity, and the outcome. And there is a direction to them. This is where it's important. Okay, this is where it's really important. There is a direction to them. We can hear something, see something, talking and knowing something positively. We can hear, see, talk, and know negatively. And we can be balanced. Okay, let's use okay, balance. If we accumulate and acquire positively, okay, cognition, if we accumulate and acquire by way of hearing, seeing, talking, and knowing some bit of knowledge in a positive direction, that seed of cognition will grow up. It'll be a tree, and then it will bear fruit. It will become an outcome that is positive. Okay, by accumulating and acquiring some knowledge in a positive direction, that seed of cognition will grow up. It will become a seed or a fruit or the outcome that is positive. If, on the other hand, we accumulate and acquire some knowledge negatively, okay, there is a negative energy charge to it. If we accumulate and acquire by way of hearing, seeing, talking, and knowing negatively, that seed of knowledge, that cognition, will become a negative tree. That seed will grow up to be a tree, and it will bear negative outcome, negative fruit. Okay? If we acquire and accumulate some knowledge with a balanced inner state, with a balanced inner state, that is neither positive nor negative, the fruit will be neither positive nor negative. And so what does it mean, positive and negative? Well, it's very simple. To have a positive is desirable. Anything that is positive, meaning desirable. Okay, positive is desirable. Okay, negative is undesirable. Okay, and to be balanced, it is neither desirable nor undesirable. Okay, neither desirable nor undesirable. Neither nor. Okay, so that is when it comes to knowledge and cognition. Okay, and when we talk about accumulating and acquiring, we're talking about the energy charge that we give to that bit of knowledge when we accumulate and acquire it. Okay, so we go back to this sheet here. Our way of being, negative, positive, or balanced. When we come across a bit of knowledge, let's say math. Okay, when we start to be introduced by math, our way of being, if we encounter math with a way of being that is negative, we don't like it. Okay, we think it's horrible. We think it's hard. If our way of being, if our inner state is negative, then we have just deposited or planted a seed that is negative, our cognition seed that is negative. And after a while, that negative seed of cognition is going to grow up. It's going to be a tree. It'll bear fruit. And the outcome of that is going to be negative. We're going to be pretty bad at math. Undesirable outcome of math. On the other hand, if when we encounter math and our way of being is positive, okay, we like it, we are excited, we're hopeful, we enjoy doing math, then that when that moment of encountering that cognition, that knowledge about math, it comes in as a seed in our garden of subconscious. Over time, it'll grow up to be a tree, it'll bear fruit, and the fruit is going to be a positive fruit. Positive equate to desirable. Our outcome with respect to our knowledge of math, our cognition becomes a desirable fruit. Does that make sense so far? Positive, negative is the ways in which we charge the seed of cognition. Okay, so think about let's say running a marathon. Okay, when we think about running a marathon, the moment that we think about marathon or mentioning marathon or think about or talk about marathon, our way of hearing, seeing, talking, and knowing, that is the way in which we accumulate and acquire. When we talk about marathon, when we hear about marathon, when we see marathon, whatever we know about marathon, if we acquire and accumulate it negatively, we think it's hard, we think it's dangerous, we think it's not for us, it's negatively, then guess what? That seed of knowledge is going to grow up to be a tree. It will bear the fruit of cognition that is negative and undesirable. You're going to hate running a marathon, and trying to run a marathon, it's probably going to cause you to get injured because we have accumulated and acquired negatively about running a marathon. On the other hand, when talking about running a marathon and we're excited, we're hopeful, we think that the marathon is a good idea, then it will grow up to be a tree. It will bear the fruit of cognition, where we will acquire more usable, more beneficial knowledge about running a marathon, and the outcome of which is going to be we're going to have some desirable knowledge about running a marathon. It's that simple. Okay. What about things like, let's say, marriage relationship? When we think about marriage relationship, by way of our hearing, our seeing, our talking, and knowing, if we accumulate and acquire positively about marriage, then guess what? That cognition about marriage is going to grow up to be a tree. It'll bear fruit that is going to be positive marriage relationship. But if the moment we talk about marriage and we think that, marriage is troublesome, that, it's going to be a trap, you lose your freedom, all that negativity that we hear people talk about negatively, guess what? You can look at a person right away, and by looking at their hearing, by looking at the way they acquire, by the hearing, the seeing, the talking, and the knowing, you know exactly the outcome that they have with respect to marriage. If they acquire and accumulate negatively, the outcome of their life is going to be negative. Okay? And if it's balanced, then it's neither desirable nor undesirable. So as a human being, in our garden of subconscious, we have a gardener. Okay, a gardener. This gardener is very simple. Okay, we call him Mr. Will, because it is essentially our will to hear, our will to see, our will to talk, and our will to know. Okay, our will to hear, our will to see, our will to talk, and our will to know. In other words, our nature of hearing, our nature of seeing, our nature of talking and knowing. By way of hearing, seeing, talking, and knowing, we charge the seed that is in our garden. When we think about a topic and we think about it negatively, we're essentially telling Mr. Will here to water and fertilize that seed with negative energy. And over time, that seed will grow to a plant, it will bear negative fruit, undesirable result. Take, for example, our health. When we think about health, what do we know about health? Okay, what do we know about health? Most of the time nowadays, when we talk to people about health, they talk about the pains instead of their health. Well, they actually have negative, undesirable cognition about health. And they have been acquiring that through who knows how many lifetimes. That's just cognition. What about the affinity, the relationship and the connection we have with other people? When we think about an individual, okay, when we first think about an individual or somebody mentioned individual, let's say our spouse. When we think about our spouse and we have positive feeling, we have feelings of gratitude, we have feelings of peace, we have feelings of love, then essentially we have just told Mr. Will here by way of our hearing, our seeing, our talking, our knowing, right? We talk to ourselves, we hear words and we see images about our spouse. We are telling Mr. Will to water that seed, the seed of affinity with our spouse, positively. And so over time, our relationship with our spouse is going to be positive, which is desirable. And imagine if you continue this process from lifetime to lifetime. Then suddenly you meet a person, okay, and you suddenly like them. You feel like you may have known them for many lifetimes before. They are your soulmate. That is because in past many lifetimes we have accumulated and acquired positively. We have told Mr. Will here in our subconscious to water the seed of affinity with that person positively. And so when we first meet a person in this lifetime, even though we've never met them before in this lifetime, we have a positive affinity with them. And then on the other hand, there are people that when we think about, we immediately feel negative. You know, we hear stories of in-laws, right? Mother-in-laws. Okay, when we think about our mother-in-law, do we feel positive or negative? If we charge that seed of affinity negatively, we're essentially telling Mr. Will to water the plant. Each time we think about it, Mr. Will is watering the plant with negative energy, with negative fertilizer. And so over time, that affinity is going to grow, it's going to bear fruit, and we're going to experience undesirable negative outcome with respect to that affinity with that person, that in-law. And so if you imagine all the people that we know and all the people that we don't know, there are people that seem to be very kind to us, even without us doing anything. That is because we have been acquiring and accumulating positively with respect to our affinity with them in the past. Could be this lifetime, could be past in this lifetime, or could be in the past multiple lifetime. And then there are people who seem to hate us and we seem to hate them. That is because we have been accumulating and acquiring negatively the seed of affinity with respect to that person in the past, whether this lifetime or multiple past lifetime. And we don't know why. We don't know why, we feel that way in this lifetime. But now with this perspective, this understanding that we have been accumulating and acquiring this energy with respect to those people, then now it opens up an awareness and a possibility. And if we understand that the outcome of our life depends not only the good seed within us, but it also depends on the condition, which is the affinity with other people. Would it be a good idea to fertilize those seed positively and balanced so that we can experience the outcome that we want? Would it be a good idea? Okay. Okay.
Sorry, Frank?
The question is, now that we understand that the conditions that lead to the outcome that we experience in life is in part has to do with the affinity with other people, is it a good idea to fertilize and water the seed of affinity with everybody we know? So that we can maximize the possibility of reaping the desirable fruit of life.
Well, yeah, if you want it to be desirable, we
Yeah,
need to definitely have to fertilize.
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Okay, okay. And knowing that our cognition, okay, knowing that our
Okay.
cognition, our knowledge is also subjected to causality, that they can become positive or negative by way of us watering and fertilizing the seed of knowledge, the seed of cognition. Is it a good idea to approach knowledge with positive and balanced mentality? Yeah, it's a good idea to approach knowledge with balance and positive mentality. And really, all of life is boiled down to cognition, affinity, and outcome. That's really all there is to it. It is our cognition that will, whether it's positive or negative, that will influence how we interact about another person, right? What we know about them, right? Our cognition with regard to another person will determine our affinity with that other person. So in this diagram here, there's a cognition. Cognition itself is a seed, the affinity is a condition, and the outcome is a fruit. Our cognition with respect to another person, if it's positive, it will cause us to behave toward them positively, and then we will reap the fruit of positive outcome. Okay. So let me see. Let me check with so consider this garden of subconscious. It's got all these plants and all these trees. Okay, all these plants and all this seed and all this tree. And we're talking about, you know, millions and billions of people. Our affinity with all the people in this planet, 8 billion people on a planet, not counting the people who have already passed, not counting the people who we're going to meet in the future. So many trees, so many seed. How are we going to manage this whole garden? How are we going to ensure that the fruit is going to be positive and desirable? Well, the good news is we don't have to manage every single tree. Okay? Let's be smart. Don't try and manage every single tree. Instead, imagine that you instead of individually watering every single plant and nurturing every single tree of affinity and cognition, instead of trying to manage every single tree, we wholesale fertilize it. Okay, so pretend we have an airplane or a drone that will fly over this entire farm field, and we spray three type of positive and balanced energy. That is the energy of serenity, the energy of magnanimity, and the energy of honoring gratitude. That's it. Only three types of fertilizer, three types of energy, three types of positive water and fertilizer for our garden of the subconscious. Every bit of knowledge that we encounter it with serenity. That will ensure that our outcome with respect to knowledge is going to be balanced and positively oriented. In fact, the state of serenity, which is inner peace and balance, will also activate our total causal cognition. We learn better when we're in a state of balance. Did anybody know that? We learn better when we're at peace. Serenity will activate cognition. If we're sitting down and we'll learn and we're worried or we're too excited, that's actually will actually hinder our ability to absorb knowledge. It will diminish our cognition. And worse yet, if we come to a certain knowledge and we have a negative feeling about it, then we're not going to learn it very well. Or that's going to cause our affinity to be negative with other people. So ensure that we maintain a state of serenity when we learn anything. When it comes to people, spray the energy of magnanimity wholesale over the entire garden. Don't bother managing our affinity with 8 billion people on the planet. That's too much trouble. We can't even manage our relationship with the family members within our own house. But we can wholesale fertilize the entire field with magnanimity, which is a state of being capacious and generous and tolerant with people. Be magnanimous with everybody. If you're magnanimous with everybody, then we literally fertilize every seed of affinity with people positively, ensuring that the outcome of our affinity with other people is going to be positive, thereby reaping the fruit of positivity with respect to our with the people that we meet. Because the people that we meet, whether it's our family member or our coworker or even a stranger on the street, they could be our benefactor in the future. They could be a wise person that points us the way. They could be a value asset that carries some burden and contribute to our life and growth in the future. They could be our capital. Okay, in our philosophy, people are our capital. Where there are people, there are money. They could be a person who will introduce us to a millionaire or a billion-dollar investment opportunity. Who knows? Spray magnanimity over every seed of affinity that we encounter with people. And of course, the energy of honoring gratitude over everything that we have. Every people, every circumstances, every item, every belonging that we have, every situation. And that will ensure that we reap the fruit of positivity. Okay? Do you guys get this part so far? It is a beneficial idea to maintain a state of serenity, magnanimity, and honoring gratitude across all cognition, all knowledge. Okay, any news, any bit of information, just maintain balance when you receive them. When you encounter people, doesn't matter who it is, a stranger, a parent, a child, a coworker, whether they are you've known them for a long time or you've just met them, be magnanimous. That will ensure that you maintain a positive affinity with that person because you never know. They could be your benefactor in the future. Okay. And then what do we do about the bad fruit that is in our garden? Right? Because through the process of acquiring and accumulating, by way of hearing and seeing and talking and knowing, we have inadvertently, okay, before we study this knowledge, before we understood the operating principle of the subconscious mind, our life had been subjected to chance or fate. Okay, our life had been subjected to chance or fate. Our life had been subject to external circumstances and people outside. But we were not aware, we were not conscious, so we have inadvertently acquired and accumulated some cognition and affinity with people negatively. And each time we've been thinking about them negatively We tell Mr. Will, our gardener here, had to water that plant, to fertilize that plant negatively. And so our outcome with respect to people have been negative, or circumstances have been negative to us. Life is difficult. We run into trouble. We have pain and we suffer, right? Those are the outcome of life. Those are the fruit, the bad fruit that came out as a consequence of negative energy being charged. Okay, so now we're talking about the negative fruit. What do we do about the negative and undesirable fruit that we experience in life? Okay, undesirable experience of life, pain, suffering, difficulty, those are undesirable experiences in life. It's easy to, deal with the desirable stuff. Okay, so everybody wants desirable circumstances in life. Everybody wants people that we enjoy, right? Positive affinity. But what if we are encountering negativity in life, negative circumstances, bad things happen to us? What if we encountered negative people, people who want to hurt us? What do we do? Okay. Fortunately, we have a formula for overcoming all of life's challenges. Okay, this is a very, very powerful formula, and I could not have given this to you until after we've gone through the operating principle of the conscious mind. And now that we're talking about the principle of the subconscious mind, I could not give this to you until we have already gone through the formula for the root cause of life, that you have accepted that the outcome of life is caused by the self, right? The root cause of life begin with me, but not my fault, not other people's fault either. So everything leading up to now had given us this following formula, called the formula to overcome all of life's problems. Okay, anybody guys ready for the formula to overcome all of life's problems? Who here is excited to receive the formula to overcome all of life's problems?
We want, I'm sure everyone does.
We want
Okay, there
we
you
want
go.
this.
Yeah, you want it. Okay, the formula to overcome all of life's problems, or to stand above life challenges. Okay, yeah, the formula to stand above or rise above life's challenges. Very simple. When we encounter anything that we consider undesirable, just like this pen, it's not working. So when we encounter anything that is undesirable, okay, problems, suffering, difficulties, undesirable circumstances. Step one, know it, and then welcome it. That's it. Know that it's there, and then welcome it. Know that it's there, and then welcome it. You know why? Because of the operating principle of the subconscious and the conscious mind. When an undesirable circumstance happens to us, know that it is the fruit. It is the end part of the equation of causality. Know that it is the outcome. It is the fruit. The fruit is negative or undesirable because you have planted some seed, whether it's cognition, the seed of cognition, or the seed of affinity that is negative. Okay, maybe you've done something bad, or you've made somebody feel bad, and so now we are receiving the fruit that is bad. May not have happened in this lifetime, but we understand that causality, and as a human being, there's something that move on beyond this lifetime. There's the truth within us that does not change over space and time. We accept that the fruit that we're receiving, okay, it is an undesirable fruit. We just know that it happens, and we welcome it. When we know and we welcome, what happened is that we're actually telling Mr. Will, don't water the plant. We receive it, we welcome it, We put ourselves in a state of balance, neither positive nor negative. Mr. Will doesn't, he takes a vacation. He doesn't water that seed anymore, that seed of affinity or that seed of some event. You just know it and you welcome it. You put yourself at a state of balance. Okay, this is very important. Let me see if I can pull out. Yeah, that's fine. When we encounter anything that is undesirable in life, pain, suffering, challenges, anything that we consider negative and undesirable, we put ourselves into a state of balance by simply know it and welcome it. When you know that it's happening and you welcome it, what you're doing is you are activating the mentality of serenity. This is an energy of inner peace. Okay, this is important. You're activating balance and you're activating inner peace. You just know it is happening, then you welcome it. Because if you don't welcome it, if we don't welcome it, if we resent it, right? Something bad happened and we resent it. Guess what? We have just told Mr. Will to water. We have just planted another negative seed. Okay. When we encounter a situation that is negative and undesirable and we resent it or we feel bad about it, what we have just done is we have planted a new seed, a negative seed. And we told Mr. Will, you from now on, you want to water and fertilize that seed negatively. And guess what happened when Mr. Will fertilized and the seed negatively? It's going to grow up to be a plant. It's going to bear a fruit. That fruit is going to be negative and undesirable. We're going to experience more pain and suffering. Okay, it's very important. Step one, very simple. When we encounter any circumstance that is undesirable and negative, you just know it and you welcome it. Get yourself to a state of balance and you will activate the energy of serenity, tranquility, inner peace. If we don't, we tell Mr. Will to go to work on planting a negative seed, right? Our inner state is a seed. Our way of being, negative way of being, is a seed. Way of being, inner state, our negative seed. When we plant negativity through time, okay, maybe later in life or maybe in the future life, it's going to be negative. And then it will bear fruit and when we will encounter some negative outcome. Okay. When we encounter a person, that is negative to us, we encounter a human being that is negative to it, an undesirable situation, a negative affinity. Okay, people. When we encounter people who are negative, what do? If somebody does something bad to us and we don't want that to happen anymore, if we react negatively, guess what? We have just told Mr. Will to plant another seed of negativity. Over time, the next time we think about that person, we think of it negatively. Over time, we think about that person, Mr. Will is going to fertilize and water that plant negatively. So our affinity with that person is going to get more and more negative. A tree will grow, it will bear fruit. And at the very end, your relationship with that individual is going to get worse and worse, right? That is how the subconscious mind works. Every time we think about it, okay, whether conscious or unconscious, and we charge it with a negative energy, it's going to grow up, it's going to bear fruit, and it's going to be negative. So how do we protect ourselves from negativity, from experience bad and undesirable circumstances or interaction with people. We activate the energy of magnanimity, the energy of magnanimity, the mentality of magnanimity. Magnanimity means great spirit, a state of being so great that you can behold and hold other people. It is a state of being capacious, of being tolerant, forgiving. And that will protect us from further negativity. Okay? So very important. We'll talk about magnanimity and the energy of wisdom in the upcoming session. This is how we rise above life's challenges. When we encounter negative people, do not feed them negativity. It'll only get worse. Right? Have you ever met an angry person and you get angry back and you get into an argument and then the argument will boil into a fight? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? A group of people can get together for a peaceful protest and somebody get angry and other people feed that anger and before you know it, you get a riot. Okay? That is because you feed negativity with negativity. Don't feed negativity with negativity when it comes to people. Feed it positive energy or balance. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about balance in a bit. But let me go to the next one. And in order to rise above all of life's challenges and prevent future problems, okay, you want to activate the principle of mental activation. Lesson, impression, and realization. Okay, lesson, impression, realization. Learn something from the experience. When a bad situation happens, don't feed it negativity, because if you feed it with negativity, it will grow into a tree and you will get more negativity, more undesirable negative circumstances. So instead, go positive. Be honored by and grateful for. So this is honoring gratitude. We honored by and grateful for the chance to learn and to grow. Don't be grateful for the bad situation. That's you're actually gonna multiply that. Never be grateful for bad people or never be grateful for bad situation. You will only multiply that because there is a power of gratitude that we'll talk about later. Instead, you want to be grateful for the lesson that you draw from the negative circumstance. When you draw a lesson and you are grateful for it, you replace the negativity with the positivity. You basically erase the negativity. And anything that you are grateful for, you will multiply. And imagine going through life having a lot of lesson, right? If you have a lot of lesson, then the next time you encounter difficulty, then there's greater chance that you will be able to overcome those challenges with ease. Imagine going through life experiencing the same problem over and over and over and resenting and resenting and resenting and never learn anything. Do you see people doing that? The life doesn't get better if they don't learn anything. And if they learn in a positive direction using the principle of light, then their life is going to get better. Okay, so you can go back to all of our previous discussion. You learn a lesson in a positive direction that align with your desire, then your life is going to get better. Okay, so let me get back to the idea of the fruit, the outcome of life. the bad things that will happen to us, the undesirable thing that happen to us. Okay, there is a concept, a powerful concept that if we get this concept, we will really get to enjoy a life of serenity and inner peace. There's a consider each outcome, each fruit. Okay, the way the causality work, the way the causality work. When we're standing in the middle of a lake and we drop a pebble and it sends out a ripple, and when it encounters people, it comes back. You know, that wave that spreads out, it comes back. It is only one time. In other words, whatever fruit that we reap, it comes from only one seed. One fruit, one tree, one seed. One fruit, one tree, one seed. So when we encounter a bad seed, undesirable circumstance, and we simply know it and welcome it, we enter a state of balance. That's it. Causality stop. That fruit at that moment, when it comes to us, we receive it with balance and serenity, it stops. Okay, this is a very important step. If we don't receive it with balance, okay, if we don't receive it with balance, we're telling Mr. Will, plant another seed. Yeah, we tell Mr. Will, plant another seed, usually a negative seed, if we're resentful. And that other seed is going to grow up to be another tree. It's going to bear another fruit, and then we will experience a similar circumstances. It's never the same. It's similar because it's a carry the same, type of energy, but it is a different fruit because we have planted a new seed when we refuse to accept the bad things that happen to us. Do you guys get this point? When bad things happen to us and we refuse to accept it, we actually plant a new seed. So the only way to stop causality is to maintain balance. Just know it and welcome it. Another way to illustrate this point is kind of like, um, let's say we violate traffic law. Okay, we're driving, and let's say we run the red light. Okay, we didn't pay attention. We run the red light. We violated traffic law. We violated causality. Okay, there's a human law, right? Causality. If you obey the law, you'll be fine. If you break the law, you get a citation. So we run the red light, and a police chase us. Okay, police siren chase us, and we're driving, and police is pulling us over. If we know it and we welcome it, we would pull over. We would accept whatever fine or citation or punishment that the law has to offer, and then we'll be done. We'll be clear, right? After we pay the fine. But if the police chase us and we refuse to pull over, we keep running, right? Now we have just incurred a new violation, running from the police, avoiding arrest. And during the process of running, we may run another red light. We incur another violation. By running away, we may hit a person. We may get into a worse crime. Right? Do criminal happen? Does that happen all the time? Do we see that on TV? Police will arrest a criminal for some crime and then they will run, and by running, they accumulate more and more crime. And so their life situation get worse and worse. Similarly to the bad things that happen to us. If we do not know it and receive it, okay, if we refuse to accept the punishment, okay, you can think of it as punishment, or it's just causality. It's just the fruit. It's just the fruit that we're reaping as a consequence of some seed that we have planted in the past. Yes, we have planted some bad seed. Now we're getting the bad fruit. Just know it and welcome it. And then it will end. Yeah. Because if we don't, then we plant new seeds. We're going to continue to get new fruit, negatively, undesirably. This is a Buddhist idea, but it's also stated this in the Christian Bible. Okay, it is also said in the Christian Bible. First of all, you know that what you reap, so shall you that what you sow, so shall you reap. That's in the Bible. Reaping and sowing and reaping, causality. Okay, causality. The Ten Commandment of the Bible is a statement on causality. Okay, do this so that you won't get the bad consequences. But there is a part in the Bible that really illustrates this point. Jesus, before Jesus, died on the cross. For those of you who know the Christian, religion, okay, before Jesus died on the cross, there were two criminals, okay, two criminals, people who have planted bad seed and are now reaping the fruit of their crimes. One guy challenges God, okay, one guy say, Jesus, you God, you can break causality. Why don't you get off the cross and save yourself and save us? Okay, one guy challenges God's will, causality. Another guy, on the other hand, on his right side, they say, no, you and I, we deserve this. We deserve this. We deserve the fruit. Okay, we deserve the fruit.
On that.
Huh?
Because I did.
Are you talking to us, Win?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So, two guys on a cross with Jesus. One guy challenges causality. The other guy says, no, we deserve this. Okay. He take full and complete responsibility for it. And he say, Jesus, please take me with you. And at that moment, that guy who accepted, he knows it, he welcomes his punishment, which is punishment on the cross. At that moment, Jesus said, yeah, you will be with me in heaven. The guy who refuses to accept is going to continue to suffer. Next lifetime, whatever. But the guy who accepts his punishment, he knows it, he welcomes it, he reaches a state of, he's at peace with it. And Jesus said, today you're going to be with me in heaven. Jesus is part man and part God. The man part of him also get to suffer the outcome of his action in his manly life. Okay, Jesus pissed off a lot of people, so they wanted to kill him and put him on the cross. That's the causality of his manly nature. But once he died, he come back to life because that's his God nature. Okay, but the idea of the formula for overcoming all of life's challenges has this powerful statement. And I want you to consider this one. No double jeopardy in causality. No double jeopardy in causality. Anybody familiar with double jeopardy? Is anybody here into law? A
Yeah, you
lawyer?
can't get charged for the crime second time.
Right, exactly. You cannot be charged or accused or tried for a second time for the same crime. That's what causality is. Once you receive that fruit, once you receive that punishment, causality will not bear fruit again. If you experience something similar, it is a different fruit. This is a powerful law, universal law, okay? In other words, it's a no repetition in causality. No repetition in causality. Does it have anything to do with retroactive? Some of you have studied the different translation. Yes, there's no retroactivity in causality, but that statement has no value. Okay, those of you who have studied the different translation where there's a saying no retrograde or retroactivity with respect to causality, or no retro something like that in karma. That statement is true, but it has no meaning. It has no value. It has no transformative value. Okay. By the way, we already learned that causality does go backward. Okay, from last week we talked about the time. I think the week before we talked about the awareness of time, the vibrational frequency of time. Remember, we talked about how you can change the future and then change your present, how you can change the present and change your past and all that stuff. Time has no meaning. Okay, so causality can go both ways. So that statement about no retroactivity or retrograde with respect to causality, that statement is either wrong or has no transformative value. The transformative value here is no double jeopardy in causality or no repetition in causality. You can escape from punishment simply by knowing, receiving, and welcoming the circumstance that happened to you. Okay? So while we're on the topic, I'll just say a little bit about the idea of purgatory. Okay, since we're on a religious and spiritual discussion, there's the idea of purgatory. If anybody ever, any Catholic here, you understand there's a concept of purgatory. Okay, in the Christian religion, there's a concept of heaven, of a hell, and then there's a somewhere in between called purgatory. Heaven is this ultimate bliss, state of being where you're with God and you have no suffering for the eternity. Hell is the ultimate opposite, where you suffer for your bad deed and forever, damn, and no hope of returning. But most people, when we die, we are not perfect and we're not totally evil, so we're in somewhere in between. Most of people go to purgatory, and purgatory is from the word purge. Okay, purge. Purgatory is a place where you purge your sin. Yes, you suffer pain and punishment, but it is also a place where you get to cultivate yourself and become become worthy of going up to heaven. Purgatory. Okay? Well, guess what? What does life look like? Do we not suffer pain in life? And are we not been given opportunity to cultivate ourselves and becoming better and better every day? So life is purgatory. Life is this garden of subconscious that has manifested itself consciously. All the undesirable fruit or outcome of life, those are like the punishment for our crime that we have committed in the past, our sins. We planted some bad seed in the past or past lifetime. Now we get to pay for it with the undesirable circumstances. Okay, could be somebody say something bad to us. Could be because a spouse betrayed us. Could be because pandemic made us sick. Could be because we got hit by a car accident. It could be lots of anything that is undesirable is a fruit. It is a punishment for a crime or a sin that we have committed in the past. But it's not our fault. It's not anybody else's fault either. Because those sins or bad deed that we committed in the past, they are exact vibrational match for who we are. Get it? We didn't know any better. Had we known better, had we had better cognition, had we had better affinity with people, we would have acted better. Right? We're always acting on our best interest anyway, so there's no need to blame ourselves for any outcome. So punishment is not punishment. It is just a bad seed that we are reaping as a consequence of some bad seed that we have. It's a bad fruit that we are reaping as a consequence of the bad seed that we have planted. There's no need to blame ourselves. There's no need to blame other people. Just know it, welcome it, and reap the reward of serenity. And when it comes to people, to protect ourselves from further negativity, be magnanimous with them. Be capacious, be tolerant, and forgiving. And to prevent future undesirable circumstances, learn from the lesson. Draw a impression or a realization so that you don't repeat the mistake. 3 energy, serenity, magnanimity, and honoring gratitude. And this is the formula for overcoming all of life's difficulty and challenges. It is also the ticket out of purgatory, if you want to get that to the spiritual level. Okay, because there is no double jeopardy in causality. That's in a negative sense. If you when when we're talking about this, it's in the terms of pain and suffering. But similarly with the good thing, when we receive a good thing, some blessing, some good grace, some good fortune, it is also the same thing that causality does not repeat. Once we experience that good grace, that good chance, that good luck, it's gone. If we want more, we have to plant new seed. Okay, we have to plant new seed. Talk a little bit about people, our connection with people, our affinity with people. As a human being, sometimes we find it more easy to forgive people, and sometimes we find it hard to forgive people, right? As a human being, sometimes a person can do something to us, and we find it, it's okay. We can let it go. But another person, usually a person close to us, does that same thing to us, we can't forgive them. A stranger might call you stupid. And okay, who cares? It's just a stranger. But if a loved one, let's say your father, your mother, your children, your spouse call you stupid, then we can't forgive them. Does that ever happen to you? Where an action by another person can be forgiven not because of the action themselves, but because of the identity of that person. Anybody could do this to me, but not you. Why you? Why did it have to be you? I will not accept it because you did it to me. Anybody experience that? I expected you to understand.
Person that's more close to you, you're more attached to them, right?
Yeah. It seems that the person who is very close to you, we tend to have this attachment and we have this expectation that they have to behave a certain way. And so when they do things that are undesirable for us, we find it hard to be magnanimous. We find it hard to be forgiving and tolerant to that person. And so I want to call your attention to the concept of attachment to identity. Okay, attachment to identity. If we understand causality, okay, we understand causality, then we understand that the outcome that we're experiencing today has to come because of all the causal affinity and all the causal seed that we have planted, irregardless of who brought it to us. Okay, this is an awareness and perception that a mature person needs to be able to acquire in order to rise above life's challenges. Okay, there is the perception that I invite you guys to adopt. And let me okay. Yeah, see if I can and help you expand your awareness a little bit. When it comes to negative things, realize that we are experiencing that negative outcome because we have planted those seeds and those conditions have brought to us, irregardless of who brought it to us. In other words, if this person didn't do that bad thing to us, then at that moment in time, somebody else would have done it to us anyway. That is a perspective that require you to sort of step out of your usual attachment. If this bad thing didn't happen to me, or if this bad thing didn't happen to me because of this person, then another person would have brought me that bad thing. Okay, because of causality. This wave that I spread out, it's going to come back to me, irregardless of who is with me in the present. That would help allow us to better receive and welcome the circumstances. You remove the identity of the person from the act of hurt or pain that they have caused you. By having a realization and a perception that at that moment in time, by the law of causality, of all the things that happen, all the causes and consequences and all the causes, conditions, and outcome, at that moment in time, we have to receive that fruit because we have planted those seeds. And at that moment in time, we have to receive that fruit, irregardless of who brought it to us. Kind of like buying stuff on Amazon. Okay, we order something and it comes. Doesn't matter who deliver it to us, we get it. Right? When most of the time when we order things on the Amazon, do we care who brought it to us? Do we care? No, we only care that we get the item. Right? We place an order and we only care about the fact that we get the item. We don't care who brought it to us. It could be in a truck, it could be in a van, it could be a man or a woman who delivered, but we only care about the outcome. Same thing with negativity. Just let go of our attachment to the person who delivering the item, the bad fruit. When you know that, okay, this fruit is brought forth to me because I have planted the seed. Doesn't matter who delivered it. Could be an insult, could be a betrayal, okay? Could be some really bad thing that another person did. But if you realize that it is the fruit that I have brought forth for myself, then you can find it more simple to forgive the other person and then welcome the fruit itself. Question is, do you have the maturity to adopt that perspective in order to protect yourself and to protect the other person? That is an invitation to evolve to a higher level of consciousness. Attachment to identity. You want to detach from the identity of the person that caused you harm. Okay? So think back, okay? In your relationship with people, which relationship, which affinity with which person that is right now undesirable, not as good as you want. Maybe they've hurt you. Maybe they said something. Maybe they've done something. When you think about them, you plant negative seed. You fertilize it negatively. At this moment, go ahead and think about that person. Okay, it could be a spouse, could be a parent, children, co-worker, somebody who have hurt you. And realize that because of our attachment to that identity, let's replace that person with another person X, a random person. If a random person X were to do that for you, would it be more simple to let go? And hopefully you would feel that it's a little bit more simple to let go. Just replace it with a random person. By realizing that you are experiencing this undesirable affinity with this person, not because of that person, but simply because it is a fruit that we have to receive at this moment because we have planted those seeds ourselves in the past. That frees us up, okay? That frees us up from attachment, free us from the suffering, free us and the other person, allowing us to forgive them, allowing us to be magnanimous so that we don't have to forgive them. Okay? That's on a negative sense. But on a positive sense, when good things happen to us, when good people bring things to us, okay? So there are two perspectives I want you to adopt. Okay, this is a process of awakening your awareness and maturity. Okay, so on the one hand, undesirable, undesirable, okay, undesirable fruit, say fruit, outcome of life. Okay, we take responsibility for it. We don't blame other people. We don't blame ourselves either. We simply say, seed, my seed, not yet good. My seed not yet good. Okay. Root cause from me. Okay. We simply take responsibility. We don't blame anybody. When we have undesirable fruit, we simply say, okay, my seed is not yet good. Root cause from me. Okay. That protect other people. That protect our affinity with other people. Because if we blame other people, guess what? We have planted more negative seed in terms of our affinity, then we're going to continue to reap bad fruit. So to protect our affinity with other people, we want to say undesirable fruit, my seed not yet good, root cause for me. Okay? If the fruit is desirable, okay, when it comes to desirable fruit, desirable fruit. We say brought forth by good condition, okay, or affinity. Okay, desirable fruit brought forth by good condition or affinity. My achievement thanks to others. Okay, desirable fruit brought forth by condition, my achievement thanks to others. Okay, or due to others, whatever. Why do we say this? Number one, to protect ourselves from arrogance and conceit. Remember when we talked about human nature? Human nature fluctuates between negative and positive. The nature of pride, okay, the human nature called pride, fluctuate between superior and inferiority. Arrogance and conceit is extreme superiority, which is actually inferiority. A person who is arrogant and conceited is actually trying to cover up their deep sense of inferiority by elevating themselves. I'm so good. It's all me. I accomplished it because my own hard work. My. That's actually a negative energy that we have just planted. So we protect ourselves from going negative by attributing credit to other people. And in reality, it is other people. If we are succeeding in business, is it not the customers or the people who have brought us the money? Is it not the business partner? Is it not if we have a good job? Is it not the boss who pays us? Is it not the co-worker who make the work environment positive? Is it not the person who referred to us, the person who interviewed us and hired us? If we have great knowledge, is it not our parent who taught us? Is it not the teacher who taught us? Right? So when we achieve anything, we attribute the credit to other people. That is the energy of honoring gratitude. Okay, that positive energy will ensure that our affinity with other people, once again, our affinity, the fruit of affinity is positive. And when we stay positive that way, we will eventually reap more positive fruit in the future. And so when desirable things happen to us, just credit other people. And you find that successful people do this a lot, don't they? Yeah, famous and successful people, really successful people, they allow themselves to be humble. They give credit to other people, the benefactor, the mentor, the master, the value asset who contributed to them, their friends and families, and the infinite number of people who have made it possible for them to achieve. If a person goes out and show off and say, oh yeah, thanks to me, thanks to my own hard work, and I do this, yeah, they won't last long. They burn their fortune very quickly. Okay, we learned about that already. We learned about the 3 blocks of fortune, the merit, the good merit, the balance, and wisdom merit. Arrogance and conceit burn your fortune. You go negative, your life gets worse. Protect your good fortune by accrediting other people. Okay, when we receive any desirable circumstance, we attribute to other people, brought forth by good condition with other people, affinity. That help us go to work on our affinity with people because people are our capital. Okay, and later on, those of you who are interested in reaching for financial abundance and financial independence, you need to learn, the 8 perspective of money. People are money. Where there are people, there are money. People are the bridges, if not the road. Okay, we learn to appreciate people. People, 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 people. So people bring forth the condition that give me the fruit that I have today. If I am experiencing any undesirable, any pain or suffering, I don't blame people. I simply say the seed is not yet good and the root cause with me. Don't blame myself either. Okay, because blame is a negative energy. And when you blame yourself, you not only put yourself in a negative state, you're also acquiring bad deed. Okay, so it's a double whammy. So blaming yourself is terrible. Don't do that. And that is how the subconscious mind works. Each day, okay, each day we water our garden with serenity, magnanimity, and honor and gratitude. And over time, that fruit will grow. Okay, the tree will grow, the seed will grow, and we start to experience positive outcome. Okay, so whereas before we have awareness and wisdom, before we know how to think about causality, life seemed to be dependent on fate and chance. But now we understand that causality is always at work. We start to know how to influence causality. The fruit that we're receiving today, that is causality. Okay, things that we have done in the past, we cannot control those, but we can stop causality by welcoming the fruit and by planting new seed and watering and fertilizing with positivity and balanced energy. Causality. And Hindu and Buddhists call it karma, but I want you guys to understand it in terms of causality. Total causality. Total causal cognition. Total causal condition and total causal outcome. Okay? Once you get this, you're on your way to mastering your inner being, on your way to mastering your health. Okay? For example, our knowledge about health and our affinity with our well-being today is thanks to other people. Okay, and the quality of our health today is both in part of what we know, our total causal knowledge, cognition about health, as well as our total causal condition, the people around us. Their saying, their hearing, seeing, talking, and knowing also influence us, and we can choose the path of our um, the path of our health. Same thing with our relationship, what we know, right? Our cognition, the people around us. We fertilize those seed with positive affinity, and we're going to have the outcome of a harmonious and desirable relationship. Similarly, with our finances, what we know, our total cognition with respect to our finances. If up to now we don't have very good awareness, good cognition with respect to finances, then we know now where that comes from. Because in the past we have not accumulated and acquired enough good information and knowledge about finances. We have not accumulated and acquired enough positive affinity with people to connect us with financial resources. And so where we are today is just where we are today. That is the fruit of our life with respect to our finances. But knowing that, we can take a proactive choice and start to act to acquire beneficial knowledge, cultivate, favorable conditions with people so that we will eventually reap the fruit of desirable financial and health and relationship outcome. Does that make sense?
Yep.
What makes sense? What makes sense? Lesson, impression, realization. Anybody?
I said that life isn't about faith or not our control. Everything is in our control. It's just whether we have the how do you say, the energy, create the right match, to create the right vibration, energy to match it, and yeah, to take ownership, take control. We just have to have the right mentality. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is speaking in terms of the operating principle of the conscious mind. Okay, so we can only consciously, control our mind. We cannot directly control our subconscious mind. But if we consciously cultivate by choosing the positive and balanced way of thinking and acting, hearing, seeing, talking, and knowing, then not only can we immediately, consciously shift our way of being, okay, by shifting our way of being to be positive, then we can immediately change our experience at this moment, right? But there are things that doesn't happen right away. Causality takes time, right? When we think about, let's say another person at home, when we're working, we think about our spouse or a parent at home. That thought about that person doesn't affect our experience of life at that moment, but it builds on and builds on and builds on in the form of the fertilizing the seed. And so when we do encounter that person later on, right, when we come home or, in the future, then our encounter with that person, our affinity with that person, it is going to be negative. So we want to always be conscious of our hearing and seeing and talking so that we are cultivating the positivity, even as we are not experiencing that outcome right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. The operating principle of the conscious mind help us control our experience of life right now. The operating
Yeah.
principle of the subconscious mind
Subconscious.
ensures our future is going to be positive and desirable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we know how to think, our life is subjected to causality, right? It is subjected to causality. The fruit that we receive, it is the outcome of causality. After understanding this material, after knowing how to think, after having our awareness and wisdom expanded, our life is still subjected to causality. But we get to choose our causality. We choose our outcome, right? That's what maturity is. That is what mastery is about. Total causal outcome, total causality. Okay. So no more fate or chance. Fate or chance is another word for ignorance. We just don't know enough. We're ignorant. We don't understand causality. So we say, oh, leave it up to chance, leave it up to fate. But now that we understand that everything that is experiencing right now is a consequence, it's an outcome of the formula for causality, then we can begin to plant new seed. It's that simple. And we won't be attached to identity and all that stuff. Let's have another person share. When you're new to this, do you have anything to say?
Um,
Any impression?
half. I came in half late. I don't know if I can grasp the whole thing. Um,
What did you get? Doesn't matter.
it's about I don't know. Not having negativity and um, being magnanimous to everyone doesn't matter. And also, I like the taking the context. Like taking the delivery, but ignore the delivery person. Like taking the goods as what it is and ignore who delivered it. So like you said, like, oh, someone say something like say that, oh, you're stupid, but if it's come from a stranger, it's easier to forgive them. And then if it's come from your loved one, it's harder to forgive. So that's a good point. So if we take that whoever that is, unnamed that person, then it's become so much more simpler to forgive and move on. So it's even like, so I think it's even like should be the opposite. Like, oh, it's because now that because of that person, you should even forgive easily, like more easily. That's it. That's all I got so far.
Good. That's one of the very, very important key point. Okay, that is a transformative key point. If we can detach from that identity, and whether you want to detach or attach, okay, it is your choice. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of mastery and ownership of over your own inner being. To be an owner, right, like in a business or anything, to be an owner is to take full and complete responsibility and to be accountable for everything that goes on inside. So with respect to our inner being, our mind, our emotion, our spirit, and with respect to our affinity with another person, you can choose if you want to detach or attach. If we need to detach the identity in order to better forgive them, go ahead and do that. If we need to attach so that it'll be easier to forgive them, go ahead, do that too. That's the power of choice. That's mastery. That's maturity. Yeah. So congratulations, Gwen. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else want to share something? The lesson, impression, or realization on today's topic, or anything? let's give it a last 5 minutes or so. Anybody want to share anything? Nothing, Ron?
Um, I missed most of it because I was in another Zoom, but
Okay.
I kind of got a hint of what you were talking about, and yeah, it's a lot about attachment to like for myself today. I had to let go of a shed because of city rules. I just built it and it was brand new, and watched it go away today, and I didn't have any emotion, no attachment, no nothing to it. So it was at one point I was proud of that shed. I built the shed, and I found myself a little bit of attachment because I built it, but later was able to come within myself and not attached to that. It's just a material thing, and it doesn't matter. It's not there anymore, and I don't really need it. So
Oh no, they made did you have to demolish that?
no, I ended up selling it, and somebody bought a crane or rented a crane truck and moved it. It was an 8 by,
Oh, okay.
but it was custom built, and I built it myself with my brother, and don't usually work with my brother that much, so it was
Mm.
had a bit of a tie to it as well. So, but now I'm able to let it go. It's just an
Wow.
object and a thing. I got to spend time. Look at it another way. I got to spend time with my brother building it, and
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
no
positive
attachment to
mindset.
the shed itself anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh wow. Okay. I didn't. Yeah. I guess there's a standard size of the sheds and stuff, right?
well, our house is too big for the lot, so they said no outside buildings on
Oh,
our lot
really?
anymore.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's okay. It's all done, dealt with, and no attachment, and I'm at peace with it within myself.
Life's pretty easy. Life's pretty smooth sailing when we can activate that energy of serenity at will.
Yes, you look at the positives. Time I spent with my brother building it, having laughs, and yeah, we still had some good times.
Good, good, good. Okay. All righty. All righty. So thank you so much, everybody. Okay.
Yes.
Very grateful. I am honored by your participation. I will see you on Saturday.
Okay. See you Saturday, Frank.
Have
Thank
a good
you.
night.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
You too. Bye.